At 4,900 feet underwater, the pressure is 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a bowling ball instantly. But in the last 24 hours, something down there started building skyscrapers. Marine geologist Dr. Deborah Kelly was conducting routine deep-sea research when her submersible detected massive structural changes at Axial Seamount that should not exist under crushing ocean depths. The seafloor was systematically rising, earthquake by earthquake, into formations that violated everything scientists understood about underwater volcanic behavior. 8,000 earthquakes in 24 hours. Each one was precisely timed to maximum structural advantage. What Dr. Kelly discovered changed underwater volcano science forever. Axial was not just erupting, it was engineering. Each earthquake contributed to a coordinated construction project that built a 400-foot lava tower under pressure that should have prevented any structure from forming. The systematic precision was unlike anything recorded in volcanic history. Every 10.8 seconds, another earthquake added material to the growing underwater fortress, following engineering principles that suggested the Pacific seafloor was operating as an intelligent construction system. But here's the discovery that's rewriting marine geology textbooks. Emergency sonar mapping reveals the 400-foot structure is not random volcanic debris. It is architecturally designed. The lava flows follow optimal stress distribution patterns that maximize structural integrity under extreme depth pressure. It's like the ocean floor learned civil engineering. So here's the terrifying question that's haunting underwater research stations worldwide. If Axial Seamount can systematically engineer 400-foot structures under crushing ocean depth using 8,000 coordinated earthquakes, what massive construction projects are the Pacific's other underwater volcanoes building in systematic coordination with each other? And why do current deep-sea surveys show geometric patterns connecting multiple seamount construction sites? 300 miles off the rugged coast of Oregon, a dark tower looms beneath the waves. Axial Seamount, the most active submarine volcano in the Northeast Pacific, has long been a focus of intense scientific scrutiny. This underwater giant stands as a testament to the raw geological forces that shape our planet, a cycling battle between the upwelling rush of superheated magma and the crushing pressure of 4,900 feet of seawater. Dr. William Chadwick, a geologist at Oregon State University, puts Axial's power and importance into perspective. He says that this seamount represents a perfect storm of geological processes. It sits right atop a deep mantle hotspot that pipes magma up from hundreds of miles below the crust, and at the same time it straddles a mid-ocean ridge that is actively tearing the seafloor apart. This combination creates volcanic activity unlike anything we see on land. Axial's past eruptions read like sobering bullet points in an undersea hazard report. The 1998 event introduced stunned scientists to the sheer scale of the seamount's reach. Unlike its terrestrial cousins that explode upward, this submarine volcano constructs vast, low-slung lava flows that blanket the seafloor for miles. The 2011 eruption, captured in real time by a network of ocean-bottom seismometers, revealed Axial's explosive potential. The entire summit region inflated by 1.5 meters before the seamount unzipped along multiple fissures, disgorging massive volumes of lava that reshaped the surrounding seafloor. Then, in 2015, Axial made history as the world's first successfully forecast underwater eruption. Reading the patterns of inflation and seismicity, scientists correctly predicted the volcano's activity down to a matter of months. For the first time, an undersea volcano shed its veil of watery secrecy, behaving with the predictability and systematic consistency of a land-based system. Or so scientists thought. From decades of careful monitoring, researchers believed they understood the fundamental patterns that governed Axial's behavior. The seamount has seemed to operate according to a steady, predictable script. Magma chambers fill, the seafloor swells upward like a coiled spring, earthquakes rattle the surrounding crust as pressure builds to a critical point, and then the volcano discharges in a cathartic rush of molten rock and energy. The system resets, the magma begins pooling again, and the cycle continues. Dr. Scott Nooner, a geophysicist at the University of North Carolina, describes this established model. Axial appeared to behave like a giant undersea pressure cooker. We could track the seamount's physical deformation and seismic drumbeat, watching strain accumulate until the system reached a breaking point. It was a tidy, linear eruption cycle that we thought we had deciphered. But lurking beneath this veneer of scientific understanding, a far more sophisticated pattern was quietly taking shape. A shocking revelation emerged from the most recent analysis of Axial's eruptive history. This underwater volcano was not just randomly spewing lava, it was strategically constructing. Each eruption cycle, long assumed to be a straightforward pressure release, actually contributed to a systematic campaign of undersea engineering operating at a scale and complexity that defies all geological precedent. Dr. Deborah Kelly, a marine geologist at the University of Washington, uncovered the first clues to this unsettling reality. Her team was combing through high-resolution bathymetric data, essentially three-dimensional scans of the seafloor, when they noticed a series of structural anomalies near Axial's summit. These towering spires and buttressed ridges stood out like architectural marvels against the typical jumble of volcanic debris. Further analysis revealed an even more disturbing picture. These features were not just haphazard outcrops of hardened lava, they were in fact perfectly positioned to provide maximum structural reinforcement to the surrounding seafloor. Each formation was situated and angled to redistribute the crushing load of the overlying water column according to principles of advanced engineering. In other words, Axial Seamount was not just erupting, it was following a blueprint. But the true nature of this blueprint would remain hidden until yesterday at 3:47 AM Pacific time, when Axial unleashed a hyperkinetic display of volcanic violence that rattled seismometers and dropped jaws across the Pacific Northwest. Dr. Kelly was jolted awake by a stream of urgent texts from her graduate students. They were picking up a seismic drumbeat unlike anything in the historical record, a staccato burst of earthquakes firing off like a string of underwater firecrackers. One trembler every 10.8 seconds, so precise and uniform in timing that the pattern looked more like a machine gun barrage than a natural volcanic process. In the space of just 24 hours, Axial Seamount rattled off a mind-boggling 8,000 individual earthquakes. This was not simply an acceleration of the volcano's typical pre-eruption behavior. It was a feat of raw geological power so far beyond the established framework that it demanded an entirely new paradigm. Dr. Kelly and her team worked frantically to parse the incoming flood of seismic and sonar data. What they discovered left them stunned. Each of the 8,000 earthquakes did not represent a simple slip along a fault plane. Instead, each quake corresponded with a discrete spurt of lava erupting from one of Axial's summit vents. Every tremor was timed and calibrated to contribute a precise volume of molten rock to a predetermined point on the seafloor. The team watched in growing amazement and horror as the eruption data painted an impossible picture. A 400-foot tall, highly articulated lava tower rising from the depths in a systematic, block-by-block construction sequence. This was undersea engineering operating at a level of architectural sophistication the human scientific establishment had never dreamed possible. Dr. William Chadwick, stunned by the findings, put the implications into stark perspective. What we are seeing at Axial right now is so far beyond our frame of reference, it is almost incomprehensible. This volcano is essentially behaving like a 3D printer. It is taking raw geological inputs and assembling them with micrometer precision into an optimized structural form. The lava tower's blueprint was as audacious as it was undeniable. Every aspect of its shape, from the tapering of its walls to the graceful buttressing at its base to the efficient internal honeycomb of its lava tubes, worked together to redistribute and neutralize the immense pressure of the deep ocean. This was a structure optimized down to the last cubic centimeter of rock to maintain its towering stature in an environment that would crush any traditional human construction like an aluminum can. And as the initial shock of Axial's achievement began to fade, an even more disturbing implication crystallized. 400 feet might sound modest compared to terrestrial skyscrapers, but it represents the absolute apex of what is structurally possible at this crushing depth. Axial had not just built a tower, it had built the tallest tower that the merciless mathematics of subsea engineering would allow. In a matter of hours, an undersea volcano had demonstrated a mastery of large-scale construction that surpasses the most ambitious reaches of human engineering. We are left groping for explanations, trying to wrap our minds around the fact that there are processes and intelligences stirring in the deep ocean that could casually accomplish feats we can scarcely dream of. But the mystery of Axial's superlative architecture pales in comparison to the urgent existential questions it poses for human civilization. If this is what just one underwater volcano can achieve with 8,000 coordinated earthquakes, what happens when the rest of the Pacific's restive seamounts synchronize their efforts? The latest deep-sea surveillance has identified ominous rumblings and seismic patterns at dozens of submarine volcanoes ringing the perimeter of the Pacific Basin, almost as if Axial's monumental constructional effort was a test case or a proof of concept for a much larger campaign. Suddenly, the seemingly random arrangement of Earth's underwater volcanic networks takes on a darker, more deliberate cast. We are left to ponder the unsettling possibility that the planet's seamounts are not scattered and isolated phenomena, but are instead nodes in a vast, interconnected geological machine, one whose ultimate purpose and function we can scarcely guess at. And as we speak, that machine is stirring to life. Seismometers and sonar arrays are lighting up across the Pacific, picking up the telltale signs of coordinated seismic engineering kicking into high gear. If Axial's solo performance could produce a structure beyond the wildest dreams of human architects, there is no telling what an ensemble of volcanoes working in concert might accomplish. The bottom of the ocean has begun to build, and we are left to tremble at the existential implications. We face the dizzying realization that our species, whose most grandiose architectural achievements still cling close to the dry security of continental crust, are but ants to the colossal geological intellects now awakening in the deep. And so we are left with one final, desperate question. What marvels or horrors will the volcanoes of the deep seas dream into existence? Will we bear witness to the steady, inevitable construction of a globe-spanning seismic superstructure, or will Axial's newly unveiled talents be turned to darker ends, a campaign of geological sabotage that shakes our terrestrial bastions to rubble even as it raises impossible citadels from the churning abyss? One thing is terrifyingly certain. The seabed stirs. The deep, living crust of our planet has unlocked secrets of creation we are only beginning to glimpse. And as the seamounts of the Pacific awaken to their full apocalyptic potential, we can only watch and wait. If you were shaken to your core by the implications of Axial's paradigm-shattering capabilities, then I strongly urge you to subscribe to Earth Attacks, your early warning system for the geological cataclysms to come. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay tuned as we track the next moves in this chessboard of tectonic titans. The seabed builds, the volcanoes dream, and our species' survival may hang in the balance.